So Graham Potter gave the players a few days off. He really could have utilised that time, because it was interesting when we watched the interview, the Ironcast podcast the other day, where he was interviewed by Chris Skull and James Collins, how he was talking about how difficult it was for him to initially come in at West Ham, how he had sort of one training session, really half a training session before that first game in the FA Cup against Aston Villa, and then we had a little bit of fixture congestion, which meant it was just a quick turnaround of games. So he didn't really have the time for him to impart his tactical ethos on the squad. So I think it's quite interesting that he's given the players time off right now when we've got just basically a break because we're not in the FA Cup. It was tough watching the Cup over the weekend. I couldn't help but be a little bit annoyed with the club for not getting rid of Lopetegui earlier, because it just would have given Potter a little bit more time, and maybe we'd still be in the competition. Who knows? I mean, Aston Villa look absolutely brilliant, don't they, at the moment? And crikey, another couple of good signings as well, so it would seem. But looking at the time off he's given the players, I think, you know what, fair play to him. He's probably desperate to drill into these players' minds these new tactics. And he's spoken about layers. He's spoken about introducing his tactics to the players gradually. And I think sometimes, I think he might have made the right decision, actually. Let's go and give their minds a rest. Their bodies will have a rest anyway. Let's go and give their minds a rest. Let them go away. Let them chill out. Then we'll bring back, I think they're back today, doing the training, and, you know, hopefully with the benefit of being able to recharge the batteries. Anyway, which sort of brings me to today's story. Now, I cannot claim, I will not claim for a second to know anything about this. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I was looking around, I was looking at social media, I was looking at the stories, thinking, what should I do a video on today? Because it is sort of slim pickings, a little bit like the international break. And I was flicking through Twitter, and or X as we call it now, and I saw this tweet come up from West Ham Central, which is, if you don't know, is a very prolific West Ham page. And Central has said Lucas Paqueta's agent held talks with Flamengo director Jose Boto at, I don't know, sorry, shouldn't laugh, so puerile, at the club's training centre on Tuesday. Right, let's deal with that first bit. Paqueta's agent held talks with Flamengo director Jose Boto at the club's training centre. We can only assume that's the Flamengo training centre, right? It can't be West Ham's. And the next bit will probably highlight that's the case. It says West Ham was surprised over the meeting and only found out about it by reading it in the press. Okay. It then goes on to say, I've got to laugh at this. I don't even know whether this is a ruse or not. It says Hammers want £20 million for him in the summer. And it's quoted as someone saying O''DIA Brazil, which actually reads like, oh dear. And it's not April the 1st, is it? So look, I don't know how true that is. And maybe look, if he's making it up for a bit of mischief, fair enough. It's weird though, isn't it? I do actually believe it. I do believe it. And because, well, I mean, let's unpack it. Do I believe that the club would accept £20 million for Paqueta? Yes, I do. Absolutely, I do. I wonder if we ever paid the full 50 million. It was 35 million plus add-ons. I would imagine one of those add-ons was qualifying for Europe, tick. Probably one of them was winning the trophy, tick. If he played, I don't know, 50 games or whatever, I would imagine whatever the parameters of those add-ons were, I think we probably achieved most of them. I think it's probably fair to say that. So we probably paid £50 million for him. So is getting £20 million for a player that we paid £50 million for good business? No, it's not. But then you chuck in the context that actually we still don't know if Paqueta is going to be charged. Well, he's been charged if he's going to be found guilty of by the FA of betting irregularities or whatever you want to say. It's taken him a long time. I mean, this has taken him a long time to compile the evidence. Now, if you remember, they initially asked for his mobile phone. He gave them the mobile phone. And they checked through the mobile phone. Then they gave it back to him. And then, sort of months later, they said, can we have that mobile phone back, please? And he said, look, you believe what you want. It's up to you. Do what you want. Watch this video. Do what you want. But apparently he turned around and he said, no, I don't have it anymore. I've got a new phone. I don't have my old phone anymore. Now, I can see it from both points of view, but what's happened is, I think, as I understand it, the FA have given him another charge for not producing his phone. Now, you either believe him or you don't, but you would have thought that the FA had his phone originally for long enough to get any evidence they needed off of there. So for them to ask it back for a second time, it doesn't show them in a great light. Of course, Paqueta's then said that some details have been released by the FA that could only have been leaked by the FA. So Paqueta said, you've got a leak. And he's basically got his solicitor to send them a letter. I don't know whether it amounts to actually suing them or what, or launching full legal proceedings. But it's not particularly good. Paqueta's also under investigation by the Brazilian FA as well for betting irregularities. And his uncle Bruno, I only laugh because we make a joke of old Uncle Bruno on Hammers Chat. He's been investigated by the Spanish authorities for payments paid to a Spanish player. A player that plays in Spain. Same thing. I mean, the whole thing seems dodgy as hell. And if you also factor in that actually this was reported, suspicious betting patterns were reported by Betway, our sponsor, who basically grasped Paqueta up, it doesn't look good. When you factor in all that, you probably think, right, okay, he may well be receiving a lifetime ban. We just don't know. If we could get £20 million for him, I would imagine that would be quite a prudent thing for the club to do. However, we now have a separate issue, which is the decision of what we do with Paqueta now is very different to the decision that what we do with Paqueta a month ago. Because a month ago, it was a case of get rid of him. Get rid of him. I mean, he was useless, wasn't he? He was throwing himself around on the floor. He wasn't getting involved. I remember doing a video about that stat that he'd not made an assist in 23 games or something, whatever it was. He was crap. It looked like all of this stuff had really got to him. It totally impacted him. And we just had... He was a passenger. I think it's fair to say that he was a complete and utter passenger in the team. And then along came Graham Potter and everything changed, which does make it a little bit more interesting now because we're left with a question, well, we may want to sell him for £20 million, but will Graham Potter want to sell a player who's become so pivotal to the way his team play? Before we discuss that question, of which I don't have the answer to, but it is definitely worth discussing, can I please point in the direction of today's video sponsor, which is Surfshark. Who are Surfshark? They're a VPN. What's a VPN? Well, it's a way of protecting and encrypting your device, but you watch it on a mobile phone, whether you're watching this on a laptop, you only need one subscription to Surfshark and you can protect all of your devices. I've got it on here. I've got it on here. You don't know what I'm saying what here is. I've got it on my computer. I've got it on my phone. I've got it on my Fire Stick. I've got it on my laptop. I've got it everywhere. And basically, I've been using it for 3 years before they even came along and sponsored us. It's very, very simple, basically. If you're the type of person that wants to have all your stuff encrypted and protected, and so you should, because we all do internet banking and lots of other things that we don't want other people to see and get our passwords and stuff like that on our devices, then probably you're going to need a VPN. If you're going to get a VPN, then you might as well take advantage of a discount on our one, which is Hammers Chat, all one word. You put that in the discount code box. Use the link in the description below, which is basically going to take you to surfshark.com/Hammers Chat. Get 4 months free. 4 months free. That's really, really good. Not only that, you get a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you can check it out. You can have a look. If you don't like it, you can go and do something else. But even if you don't get Surfshark, I certainly recommend you get a VPN. We do have a really, really good deal for you. Check it out. Links in the description below. And now, please use that. I know you've come from Hammers Chat. Graham Potter. So, he seems to be pivotal to what Potter wants to do. And I know we've been without a striker, and we've been without a lot of players, not just a striker. Maybe that will change. Maybe if Evan Ferguson starts playing, and maybe you'd imagine that Lucas Paqueta won't be playing as that false nine or whatever you want to call it, and he'll be moved back into midfield. And maybe you'd just be ineffective there, but I think not. I don't think so. I can't see it. I would like to think that almost everybody that I can think of, I can think of one that hasn't been, but we won't mention him. It's not fair. Almost every West Ham player has been improved under Graham Potter, and certainly he's the poster boy for that. He's the poster boy for improvement under Potter. Lucas Paqueta. He's been brilliant. He's bought into just the way we're playing a little bit more on the front foot, the way we're certainly pressing more. He's bought into responsibility, and Potter himself has said, you need to make Lucas Paqueta feel important. You need to give him responsibility. I mean, it's insightful and it seems obvious, and it's just sort of level of man management, which clearly the last bloke didn't have. He was someone who's getting the best out of players and displaying really good man management, and the last bloke was falling out with everybody, it seems. So I think, maybe to read this today, even if it is by a journalist called Oh Dear, it's maybe a little bit disappointing. As I say, if you'd have asked me a month, if you'd have asked me at any point in the last 6 months, probably longer, whether I wanted to keep Lucas Paqueta, I'd said no. We did our Patreon player ratings. I was tearing him to shreds in there. I just think it was like a petulant child. And we had nowhere near the swagger and the skill and all those sort of attributes that we know that Paqueta's got in abundance. We weren't seeing them. Certainly they weren't translating to performances on the pitch. I think he's been Potter's best player. You may argue, you may have a different one, but he'll be up there. He'll surely be in everyone's top 3 since Potter came in, right? Been brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And I'm quite sure that Potter would get a tune out of somebody else, but it's one more position that we probably don't need to fill. And it begs the question, particularly in light of over the last few days, it's starting to get leaked out there quite how skint West Ham are, which I don't fully believe, by the way. But we're not going to get someone like him for £20 million, that's for sure, who's got his skill set and do the type of things that he wants. So I think almost immediately, Potter's job has become immediately more difficult with this news. Lose Lucas Paqueta, and West Ham are a worse team. And that in itself is incredible. Because whilst that is true now, that wasn't true a month ago. That last statement, it wasn't true. West Ham lose Paqueta, we become a worse team. And that shows you just how good a job Graham Potter's done, even if the results aren't there. And I'm not hailing him as the Messiah yet. I'm enjoying learning more about him. I'm enjoying learning what type of a manager he is. I'm really enjoying his interviews. I'm starting to see control of football matches, which we've not seen for a long, long time, really. But I do think he's done a fantastic job. And that's it. He has turned Lucas Paqueta from a player who I wanted to get rid of to somebody now, even though all that betting allegation stuff is hanging over, I'm now looking at him, and whilst I understand why the club might take £20 million from him and mitigate that risk of losing an asset that could be worth nothing with a lifetime ban, when I first heard the news and read the tweet on West Ham Central, I thought, shit. And I wasn't thinking that way a month ago.